remember when John Madden got into the Pro Football Hall of Fame and your initial reaction was, wait a minute, he's not there yet?
Right.
I felt the same way when I heard the Roselle Award winner was Pete Roselle Award winner was Brent Musberger this year. And he finally got his due. And he's kind enough to join us here after his Canton weekend, right here on the Rich Eisen Show, the great Brent Musberger. Good to see you, Brent. How are you?
I'm fine, Rich. Thank you so much. It was a memorable weekend, and I was so excited. There were 100 Hall of Famers who showed up. Okay, and Dan Fouts, Rich, did a fabulous job of introducing each of them. And you have been there. They come up into the center of that stage, and then they form 2 rows outside, just down below the steps. And the 4 new Hall of Fame members come through them. It was a heck of a weekend. I enjoyed everything about it.
Yeah, and you got a great view from the dais, right? Nice bird's eye view, like you're up there in the booth, right? Back in the day. And seeing all this go down, and that you're referring to the jacket dinner where, again, you made a speech on Friday night. Who did you see this past weekend that you hadn't seen in a very long time, Brent, that you're excited to reacquaint?
Well, Larry Zonka. For one, okay. And when we finally took our airplane, a little delayed on Sunday, he was sitting right in front of us with his wife. And my goodness, takes me back to those great days of the Miami Dolphins. But I go on, Michael Irvin, Tony Dorsett. I covered Tony Dorsett when he was at Pittsburgh as a college player, and then with the Dallas Cowboys, and Dick Vermeil. I mean, we went out to lunch. One of the great storytellers of all time, and it was good with Jared Allen when Vermeil presented him with the jacket, and Vermeil had difficulty because before Allen ripped his pants.
That's right. you need a step ladder. Got to get a step ladder and get it over those shoulders. Yeah.
James Lofton, I saw at the airport. We had a long talk, knowing him for years. It was just so many great memories with all of them. And Antonio Gates, Rich, that was special. When you go back and look at his career, he never played a down of college football.
Isn't that amazing?
Not a down. Now think about, there's nobody else in the Hall of Fame that didn't play any college or amateur football, and then he became a Hall of Fame tight end with the Chargers. No, it was great.
Yeah, apparently the story goes with Gates is that Nick Saban wanted him to play football at Michigan State, offered him, but he also wanted to play for Izzo, and the answer was no. So he's like, all right, I'll go play basketball at Kent State. Now look where he is. He's in Canton. Unbelievable.
And, he took Kent State, also should be pointed out, he was a way above average college basketball player. He took Kent State to the Elite Eight. Now that's accomplishing something, my man. And so it was one great. And then the Sharps, first brothers to go in. Sterling I knew really well because he was the only one of the 4 who was drafted in the first round. And I couldn't help. I had to tease him. I said, "Wow, first set of brothers to go in, Sterling." I said, I'll tell you what, the Mannings are very unhappy with you. And he laughed and broke up. I had to tease him. But I sincerely hope that the Manning brothers also become the second set of brothers to make the Hall of Fame. But next year, you know who's going in, my man, Bill Belichick. They changed the rule.
They did.
And coaches only have to be out 1 year to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. He will be unanimous. You'd be unanimous, and we'll wait and see if he brings his very attractive girlfriend with him to the gold jacket ceremony. You know what I mean, Rich?
Brent Musberger, you never change, sir. How dare you even think of changing? You just be you, Brent. I love it. Yeah, and Breeze is a first ballot guy next year,
Absolutely.
and Larry Fitzgerald is a first ballot guy next year, and it's entirely possible Witten could be one as well. And, it just gets tougher every year, it seems. To get into Canton,
Rich, I want to point out one player I was really surprised is not in there. In the Hall of Fame, they have the Black Hall of Fame. And back in the day, a lot of the younger people don't realize that back in the day, a lot of the great athletes went to the black colleges and universities.
Right.
I thought Doug Williams was in the Hall of Fame. Now, he is the first African-American quarterback to win a Super Bowl, and he was the MVP. I thought for sure he'd be in, but he's not. So I hope the old timers committee remembers. He was extremely nice to deal with. The NFL Today has great memories of Doug Williams and the interviews we did with him.
Yeah, I mean, Plunkett's not in either, which is, I think, something that needs to be rectified. But and again, the voting has changed, and we shall see. But you deserved it. Who did you think of, when you're putting your speech together? And just walk me through your memory lane that you strolled as you were getting set to speak in Canton and accept this honor, Brent.
Well, there were so many great announcers through the years. Vince Scully was with it at CBS, and I so admired him. And he called that great pass from Joe Montana to Dwight Clark in the end zone. I remember that was Scully's last game with us. He left and went back to the Dodgers full-time. Dick Enberg was another great friend. Kurt Gowdy, the old cowboy from Wyoming. People don't realize he was a heck of a basketball player when I was a youngster growing up. So I owe so much to all of these guys because I learned from every one of them. And of course, with the NFL Today, Rich, it's so sad for me that Phyllis George, Jimmy the Greek, and Irv Cross were not there with me. Now, they surprised me. Jane Kennedy actually came out and introduced me. It was great seeing her because Jane and Phyllis were the two women who held it together. And oh, by the way, they preferred seeing Phyllis and Jane to Brent, Irv, and the Greek. And I'm talking about the players when you come out to interview them. And there in the background is Jack Whitaker of your fine pictures, Jane in the middle with Irv and the Greek. Back in the day before the NFL Today, Jack Whitaker hosted the pregame show with Pat Summerall, but they taped it on Friday night. Friday night. And then they played it before the game. So Bob Wessler said, Brent, can we go live? I said, well, I don't see why not. And so off we went. But I owe so much to so many people who, and you forget the great directors and producers you work with. Bob Fishman was our first director on the NFL Today. Duke Struck came along. Mike Pearl was in there as our producer. I mean, people don't realize, we're the front guys. We're the face of what they do and everything. But behind us, we've got all these great cameramen and tech. I went into the truck, and by the way, NBC, I have to thank them so much for their game and inviting me to appear with Maria Taylor and then later with the guys upstairs. It was great. And I just wish the Detroit Lions had shown up like the rest of us. You know what I mean, Mitch?
Well, does that mean you took them and gave the point? Is that what you're saying? Brent, am I picking up on that?
Yes. Okay. Yes. You are. Yes. Okay. Yes, my man. One other thing. Yes. One other thing, Rich. Yes. Your name came up.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a word on the street. Are you going to San Paulo? Is that?
It's potentially out there, Brent. This is in the ether. But I appreciate you bringing it up because calling games is something I adore doing. I can't get enough of it. And somebody who of anybody who I speak to, you get this. Doing what I do for a living on a Sunday, thanks to largely in part you and the rest of that crew we just saw on the NFL Today back in the day. I talk about things either in advance or after. And to be able to do it while it's happening and describe the action as you've done so many years as well, nothing like it. There really is nothing like it, Brent.
Absolutely. I love listening to you and Kurt Warner from London. Thank you. Those are early on the West Coast. I got to get up at 6:30 to hear my man Rich. But listen, if you are headed in,
yes, sir,
for that, what a game! I'm going to tell you, AFC West, the Chargers with a home game playing the Chiefs, and I want everybody to hang on a little bit. There is something to the Super Bowl hangover. Trust me. Look it up on what happens to teams after they lose a Super Bowl. That's not saying I'm putting them down. They've got arguably the best coach in the league now in Andy Reid and the best quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. But look back at San Francisco last year, one injury after another, okay? There is something to that, okay? And in that division, that opens the door for the Chargers and Jimmy Harbaugh, the Broncos and Sean Payton, and he has a quarterback who has to overcome the sophomore jinx, Bo Nix, and then Pete Carroll, I admire what my team, the Raiders, have done, but can you move up in a division that tough? It's going to be interesting. I mean, what a fabulous opening weekend. The Cowboys, Jerry Jones, will Micah be there on Thursday night in Philadelphia? The media's got a story. And then, hey, look at what the gang gets to do on Sunday night at NBC. Drew Esikoff will be directing the Baltimore Ravens at the Buffalo Bills. I can't wait for the opening weekend. I'm so excited. And oh, by the way, you mentioned in my VSiN friends, you got to take a look at teams. There you are, the week 1 schedule. Look at that. I mean, it's a blockbuster opening up. All right. One great game after another. I am concerned, Rich, about Matthew Stafford. I do not like the reports about his back. And I think I read that he was going in for still another examination. People should keep their eye on that. Now, can San Francisco bounce back and win the division? How about up in Seattle? All right. What will they do without the great Geno at quarterback? I am going to take a play on the Cardinals to ambush everybody. Good price. So people who want to bet the divisions right now, look for the price, not just the favorites. That's my tip of the day.
I love it. Mr. VSiN himself.
Let's go, Brent. Come on.
Pete Rozelle, Radio and Television Award recipient Brent Musburger here. So let's do this, if you don't mind, because we were doing this the other day on our program. Super Bowl contenders, teams that you truly believe have a shot to make Santa Clara and potentially win it. And I'd love to go division by division, if you don't mind. Sure. And you tell me how many teams in this division are, in your mind, Brent Musburger, Super Bowl contenders, and we'll tally up the amount at the end. Let's start with the AFC East. How many Super Bowl contenders reside in that division, do you believe,
1,
Brent?
Buffalo.
Okay. That's it. End of story. The Bills are the
end of story.
Team. How about the AFC North, Brent? Yeah. Here we are.
1, Baltimore.
Ooh. Okay.
I'm not going to include Cincinnati. I can't trust them defensively. I don't like how the front office has handled the signing of the rush man. I'm going to go with Baltimore in that division alone.
What about the Steelers with Rodgers now in the mix, Brent?
You know, the Steelers always let me down when they get to the playoffs, okay? And how much does the future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers have left, okay? There were good games with the Jets, especially toward the end, but there were some bad games with Aaron Rodgers. Now, look, first ballot, automatic, Hall of Famer, great quarterback, somewhat stubborn, and we have to see how he gets along with the new OC that he's working with. I know he has praised him and everything, but that OC likes to run the football a little bit. We'll see what happens. I would say Super Bowl contender. Now, listen, I like Mike Tomlin, obviously. I mean, never finished under 500. That's great. Love the Steelers organization. The Rooneys cut great stories about Mr. Art Rooney himself. I tell you, I have to tell you this, Rich.
Go, please.
On the Sunday that JFK had been assassinated on Friday, okay, and Pete Rozelle, and he later confided in all of us that he made a mistake. But the league went ahead and played on Sunday, okay? And I didn't want to be there. I was covering the Chicago Bears as a newspaper man, okay? Went into the press box early, went out with the team, and it was empty, barren. It was a terrible Sunday. I went down to get a cup of coffee, and there was an elderly gentleman standing down there in a corner, and I complained about it. And he said, "What can I do for you, young man?" So I introduced myself, and he said, "I'm Art Rooney." And it was the man himself. And he said, let me make you feel a little bit better. Get a cup of coffee. He did. And then he reached inside his coat and he pulled out a little bottle of Jack Daniels and he poured it in my coffee. And I felt better covering that game. Great game, by the way. Mike Ditka, you got go see Mike Ditka's great run. The Bears had to have a tie in that game, and it was awesome.
Oh, my gosh. I did not see the end of that story coming, but it's fantastic. Awesome. I love it. All right, so you've got the Bills and the Ravens so far as the only Super Bowl contenders halfway through the divisions in the AFC. The South, does the AFC South, in your mind, have a Super Bowl contender in it?
I would like to say Houston, but I'm not. I'm going to exclude the South.
Okay.
No Super Bowl contender.
All right. Now we get to the West, where you were talking about the deep end of this AFC pool. How many are in there?
Okay. We cannot eliminate the Chiefs because the last time they did lose the Super Bowl to Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, they got to the championship game and lost to Cincinnati. So the Chiefs have to be in there.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to put the Chargers in there and the Broncos.
You like the Broncos?
Everybody should know I'm biased. I'm a season ticket holder with the Chargers, but right. I mean with the Raiders. But Jimmy Harbaugh is the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
And what we all should have remembered in that preseason game the other night is John Harbaugh with the Ravens wins preseason games. Okay, and Jimmy looked just like his brother in that opening game. So I'm going to put 3 from the AFC West in there.
Okay. So that's a total of 5 in the AFC. How many NFC East teams are Super Bowl contenders in your estimation, Brent?
I'm going to take 2. I got a little reservation on the second. Obviously, the Eagles. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. I'm going to put Washington in there, but my reservation is I don't like what's going on with McLaren. I know Micah Parsons gets all the pub with the Cowboys, but McLaren is a heck of a go-to receiver, kind of underrated, and I would like to see him stay there. But I'm going to put the Commanders. I think Jaden Daniels is a real deal. I mean, he really impressed me last year when I watched him, Rich.
Mm-hmm. So the Cowboys are not in that mix, in your estimation?
No, the Cowboys aren't ready to make that push. They've got injuries, retirements, I guess, in the offensive line. They got a new head coach. And I've got this problem with Mike. I cannot put them. Now, listen, I love Jerry Jones. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think the Raiders are able to move to Las Vegas without Jerry Jones' support.
Right.
However, all of us believe, who like Jerry, that he needs a middleman. He needs a middleman to get between him, the agents, and the players, okay? You got to have that today. As a great leader, you need to step away just a little bit. Look at the Hunts. Arguably the best front office in all of the National Football League, but there's a middleman there. There's a good general manager, okay? He steps in. He takes the brunt of the criticism from the agents and everything. I think Jerry needs one more guy to step between him and the great players like Micah and the rest of them they got on the Cowboys.
Okay, so let's go to the NFC West. I know you said you had concern about Stafford. You're high on the Cardinals. How many Super Bowl contenders?
I would not put the Cardinals in a Super Bowl team right now. I will put the Rams in there with the asterisk.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And that's the Stafford injury situation. I put them in.
The Niners?
I have to tell you that the world's in love with the 49ers. Everybody thinks they're going to bounce back and have a great year. I'm not going to put them in there as a Super Bowl contender. Okay. Wow. There are some concerns in my mind about that team. Injuries at the wide receiver position keep piling up and piling up. Yes, Brock Purdy's got his contract. Yes, I like Purdy, love the coaching staff, love the front office, but I'm not going to put him up there. So you see, I've got fewer teams in the NFC. I think it's a smaller field. So I think the Eagles have to be overwhelming favorites to win the NFC again. Arguably the 2 best wide receivers together. Jalen Hurts, different kind of quarterback, but that young man is a winner when you look at his entire life. The offensive line, they've just got to replace the right guard, and they've got one of the best offensive lines. You've got to score points in the National Football League. You have got to put points on the scoreboard, okay? And the Eagles can flat out do that.
All right, so do you have, just finishing up the NFC South, do you have anybody in there as a contender? Do you like the Bucs? Right?
Yeah, let's put the Bucs in there.
Okay.
I like to say something about Baker Mayfield. I think he has really. That's someone who didn't give up on his career after he washed out on his first team. I like what they do, and they can score. And Bowles is just such a nice young man to coach. Let's put them on the list. Okay. Now I'm not going to put Atlanta. Certainly not the Saints or Carolina on there. I don't think they're Super Bowl contender teams.
All right. Lastly, the NFC North. Then we'll finish up big and strong. What do you have?
Oh yeah, here we go. All right, here we go. And of course, I'm eliminating Chicago. I think there's a lot of talk that Johnson's gonna. That's not gonna happen. Okay, and believe it or not, I'm going to eliminate Minnesota until I see J.J. McCarthy. Okay, everybody kind of assumes that he's going to step in there. We don't know. He's a rookie. I mean, let's hold on. The other two teams, obviously, I'm going to put on the list.
Okay,
Detroit. Even though I was terribly unimpressed with them the other night, that wasn't their starting lineup that let us down. And definitely the Green Bay Packers. I think that if you're looking for a division long shot in the North, the Packers are the way to go. That's a good roster. The quarterback's now got some experience under his belt. And I'll put the Packers on that list.
All right, your total is 11. Brent, Super Bowl contenders: Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos in the AFC, Eagles, Commanders, Rams with an asterisk, depending on the most important chiropractor in the Los Angeles area, apparently.
Exactly.
Bucks, Pack and Lions. That's 11. You want to take your top of August shot at Super Bowl? The Super Bowl.
Exacta?
Yeah,
Exacta.
What do you got for me in your exacta? What do you think? What do you have for me for Super Bowl 60?
My exacta would be Philadelphia and Baltimore.
Eagles, Ravens. You want to take one last shot? You want to boil it down one more time?
I'm going to go with John Harbaugh.
Okay.
And Jackson to win that Super Bowl. Now Jackson's going to have thoughts in his head when they hit the playoffs, and he's got to overcome that he can win that last big game. But let's remember now, it was his fine tight end who let him down in the end with that drop around the end zone. Okay, so John is experienced, knows what to do. My goodness, what a coaching family. I go back with his father. But now they have to make sure they can replace the Hall of Fame kicker. We'll watch that in the preseason. I do like the new kickoff rule. I watched it carefully in the Hall of Fame game, Rich.
Yeah.
And we are gonna have more returns. I'll tell you, for sure, because the penalty on a bad kick, there was a penalty on one of them, and they brought the ball to the 40-yard line. Yeah, you can't afford to give up that kind of field position.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
Yeah, they made it more pricey to commit a penalty on it. Hey, Brent, thanks for the time. Couldn't be more happy for you and your family. So long overdue. You know how I feel about you, Suze, too. All of us here at the show. Love you, man. Thanks for the time. Awesome.
Thanks a lot, Rich. I enjoyed every minute of it, and thanks for your support.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.